to TOD, the House of Favor.
Father, Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart, O Lord, be acceptable in thy sight, my Lord and my Redeemer. For I pray with thanksgiving in Jesus' mighty name. I welcome all of you in the name of our Lord and precious Savior Jesus Christ. The good Lord who has brought all of you here tonight and those who are listening to us will let you receive the reward that pertains to you. You will run with it to profit you and your families in the mighty name of Jesus. Tonight we'll be looking at a theme which is overcoming disguised enemies. Overcoming disguised enemies. Let us start with the definition of an enemy. An enemy is a person who feels hatred for, fosters harmful designs against, or engages in antagonistic activities against another, an adversary, or an opponent. That is who an enemy is. If you check Wikipedia, it goes a bit deeper to look at the origin of that word enemy. It says it comes from a 9th century Latin word, enemy, which means bad friend. So origin of enemy is what? Bad friend. Enemy is a strong word. It says, and emotions associated with the word enemy includes anger. Just angry at you, they become your enemy. Hatred, they just hate you. Frustration, envy, jealousy, fear, distrust, and possibly, it says, grudging respect. So sometimes you have enemies because they have grudging respect for you. You are able to do what they would like to be able to do but couldn't do. So they have become your enemy because of the skills and the talents that you have. Many of us would like to know who our enemies are, because we would like to protect ourselves from our enemies. But the fact that you know who your enemies are does not mean that you are safe. In 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1 to verse 11, 1 Kings 1 to 11, the men of Israel knew that Goliath was an enemy. They knew, and he told them. He even invited them to come for a fight. Nobody came out. Nobody was willing to commit suicide. In Matthew chapter 14, Herod took over the wife of his brother, Philip. We never heard in the Bible that Philip complained that his brother took the wife. Possibly Philip knew that if he complained, maybe Herod will kill him. So he kept quiet. The only person that had the mouth to speak against what he did was the pastor called John the Baptist. And for speaking out, he lost his head. So I now understand why Philip didn't talk. In Genesis chapter 26, verse 12 to verse 22. Genesis 26, verse 12 to verse 22. Isaac knew that the men of Gerar envied him because he was too successful. The wells that he dug, they did not take over the wells. They put sand inside the wells. You know, desert area, water very valuable. Somebody has a well. Rather than take it over, you pour sand in. Which means they did not need the wells, but they wanted to teach him a lesson. They even called him in verse 16. Said, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. David knew that Saul was his enemy, but he was working for him. He threw javelin at David about 2 times. The man escaped. But there was nothing the man could do but to run away. So the fact that you know your enemies does not mean you have the powers to fight the enemies. But tonight, we are looking at another category of enemies. The disguised enemies. Disguised. To modify the manner or appearance in order to prevent recognition. Disguised. Having an appearance that hides the true form. So let's look at a few examples tonight from the Bible. Our main text will be 1 Kings 22 from verse 1 to verse 35. 1 Kings 22 from verse 1 to verse 35. Of course, we don't have time to read everything. But this story is familiar to many of us who are here. It's a very interesting story. 2 kings who were in-laws decided to go to battle. One was called Ahab, king of Israel. The other one was called Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. They were in-laws. Their children married each other. Don't forget that the wife of the king called Ahab was that famous woman called Jezebel. And Bible said both Jezebel and Ahab were wicked people. Jehoshaphat loved the Lord, but that notwithstanding, he allowed his son to marry to the other family. Some of us, when our children are about to get married, what we consider is the social status of the other party. Usually, the social status is more important than their spiritual status. That's what happened here. A king to a king, so no problem. They can get married. So they became in-laws. So one day, one in-law came to visit the other in-law. And he said to his in-law, that was Jehoshaphat, he said, Ramoth Gilead belongs to us, but these guys have taken it over. Let us go and recover Ramoth Gilead. Will you go with me to battle? That one said, you know we are in-laws. My army is your army. My men are your men. It's not a problem. Let's go. But before we go, can we ask if you have any prophets that we can check from them what the Lord is saying? Ahab said you want prophets. No problem. He sent for 400 prophets. 400. And they came. He said, look, we are going to battle. What are our chances of success? The Lord has given you victory. After they finished. You know, the other man was a man of God. Jehoshaphat. He said, in-law, is there any other prophet? That's very strange. They had brought 400 prophets. And he was now asking, in-law, is there any other prophet? One that we can ask. There's one called Micah. I don't like him. He doesn't say any good thing about me. So anyway, because we're asking for another prophet, let us send for him. On the way, they met him on the way. The other prophets sent a message to him. They said, this is what we have said. When you get there, say the same thing. So when the man got there, Ahab said, what is God saying? Say, you are going to go and you are going to have victory. Interestingly, it was Ahab that said, have I not told you that you must tell me the truth? Micah said, if you want to hear the truth, I will tell you. I see Israel as a sheep without shepherd, scattered. He was telling him, oh king, this battle will be your last battle. You will not come back alive. As the man was saying so, the chief priest who was the head of the prophets, who had deceived him, he came and slapped that one. Said, you mean God will bypass me, the chief priest, and be talking through you? And he said, you will soon find out. Anyway, to cut a long story short, in spite of what the man said, they decided to go to battle. But just before they left, in-law came, Ahab. He said, you see this battle that we are going, let us fight it differently. You see, I will disguise myself. I will not wear anything that looks like as if I'm a king. You will wear royal robe. Then we go to battle. He was the one that was inviting his in-law to go with him to battle. He was the one telling the in-law that I will disguise myself, but you will go to battle. Maybe he has gotten intelligence information about that battle, because the other side, they had a meeting, and they said, when you get to battle, don't bother killing anybody. Look for the king and just kill him. Once we've killed Ahab, battle is over. As soon as they got there, all the soldiers went against Jehoshaphat. He was the one dressed like Ahab. Ahab was in this, camouflage. They went after Jehoshaphat. They were shooting at him. The man cried out, God have mercy, it's not me. Interestingly, Bible said when the other side saw that it was not the person, they stopped pursuing after him. They left him alone. They didn't know who the king was. They were firing arrows. And Bible said the arrow went and hit Ahab in the place where his armor was not covered. The arrow of death that was meant for Ahab hit Ahab, even though Ahab was not dressed like a king. And in the place where there was just little gap, the arrow hit him. I am praying for you tonight. The arrow of death that is not meant for you, I decree, return to senders in the mighty name of Jesus. Even the arrow of death that they have fired at you, as the Lord liveth, those arrows will return to senders in the mighty name of Jesus. The point is, why did this man go to war with the other man? He felt the man was his friend. He felt they were in-laws. He felt he was protected. Unknown to him, his in-law had sold him out. Many of us believe that because we are Christians and our friends are Christians, we don't have any problem. Oh, we are believers. We belong to the same fellowship. So all is well. Let me tell you, you need to compare notes with the man called David. In Psalm 55, from verse 12 to verse 14. Psalm 55, verse 12 to verse 14. In the Message Bible, it reads like this. Now, it is not an enemy who insults me. Otherwise, I could bear it. It is not a foe who rises up against me. Otherwise, I could hide from him. But it is you, a man, who is my peer, my companion, and good friend. We used to have close fellowship. We walked with the crowd into the house of God. David said, the person I'm talking about here is not an ordinary person. This person was my good friend. We had fellowship together. We walked into the house of God. Then he began to pray dangerous prayer for that person. Why? Because the person betrayed him. In verse 15, David said, let death take them by surprise. Let them go down to swell alive. Let him go to hell alive. I not only want this man to burn, I want him to burn physically. He should go to hell alive. Because evil is in their homes and within them. But I call to God, and the Lord will save me. The question tonight is, who are your friends? Sometimes people believe that you can have partnership with unbelievers. So far you know how to work things out, all is going to be well. People come and tell you, Pastor, I have to marry this man. Even though he's an unbeliever, but he's a good man. He's a good man, Pastor. He's a good man. And the way I'm looking at it, after we have gotten married, I will complete his conversion. You will complete his conversion. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 to verse 15. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 and verse 15. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what accord has Christ with Belial? Or what part has a believer with an unbeliever? Some will say, if you are going to dine with Satan, make sure you have a long spoon. Let me tell you, the hands of Satan are longer than your spoon. And he has been here longer than yourself. So don't ever do business with Satan. You cannot make it. So like I said, the word enemy can come from the word bad friends, bad relatives. But there are some enemies that we also have who are opposed to what you stand for. They plot to take out the righteous. Acts 23, verse 12 to verse 16. Acts 23, verse 12 to verse 16. In verse 12, Bible says, and when it was day, some of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under an oath, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. Now there were more than 40 who had formed this conspiracy. 40 people came together and they were fasting. And they said, we're not going to eat. We're not going to drink until we have killed Paul. Because we don't have time, go and read it. They even went to the chief priest and the high priest in that locality. They said, we are going to deceive the commander of Brigade of Guards who is watching over Paul. We want you to invite Paul tomorrow for questioning. But we want to let you know that once they bring Paul out, we will kill him. 40 people. So how will Paul know they were going to kill him? But see, God said, as they were plotting, there was a nephew of Paul who heard them. They were planning to kill Uncle Paul. The young boy heard, the son of the sister. He quickly went in and said to Paul, sir, they are planning to assassinate you. That was how that particular plot was foiled. If you look at the book of Esther chapter 2, verse 21 to verse 23, Esther 2, 21 to 23, was the story of King Ahasuerus. The men who were watching over him had plotted to kill him in his sleep, 2 of them. How will you defend yourself against people who are taking care of you, who had planned to kill you? But as they were plotting, a man called Mordecai heard them plotting. Don't forget that the lady Mordecai brought up, she was married to the king. So he went and told Esther, they want to kill your husband though. Esther went and told the husband, they want to kill you. An inquiry was done. They were found guilty and they were killed. You know, there are enemies that we have that we're not even aware of them. You know, it's not everybody that is a Saul that he will look at you, he will throw spear at you. So everybody that's going to be Goliath, that will come and be boasting, I will fight with you. There are some people very wicked, hidden and plotting evil against you. Most times you are not aware. Paul was not aware anything was going to happen. They were fasting and plotting. Ahasuerus was not aware that they will kill him in his sleep. He was still going around as a king. But the enemies had plotted against him. What about Daniel? Daniel was doing his work. He was not corrupt. The king was planning to promote him. But his colleagues said, we don't want a Daniel as our boss. He's not allowed to chop. Daniel must go. Bible said they looked for everything against Daniel. Concerning the work that he was doing, they could not find anything. That notwithstanding, they went and had another plot. Made the king to sign a decree. That decree was meant to catch one person, Daniel, and he caught Daniel. Bible said when the king found out, he tried to save Daniel. He could not. He ended up in the lion's den. The point I'm trying to let you know is that the fact that you are not corrupt, that you are efficient, and you are good on your job, does not mean you will not have enemies. Some of you just believe that, what is life all about anyway? Let me just do my bit. Let me do it well. The fact that you are doing it well makes some people to be angry. Am I communicating? And then there are those who are opposed to you that you can never know except God shows you. Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 1 to verse 4. Ezekiel 11, verse 1 to verse 4. Enemies, you will never be able to imagine they were your enemies. Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 1 to verse 4. Bible says, moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me unto the east gate of the Lord's house, which looketh eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate, 25 men, among whom I saw Jezaniah, the son of Azor, and Pelatiah, the son of Benaiah, the princes of the people. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in this city, which say, it is not near, let us build houses. This city is a caldron, and we be flesh. Therefore, prophesy against them, prophesy, O son of man. God took him in the spirit. These were the elders of the city. Men that will come out every day. You see them on TV. They are in the daily papers. They are the men who are saying we are looking for solution. Unknown to them, they are the men causing the problem. They come out and they are talking as if they are part of the solution. But really, they are actually the problem. God took him there. Look at them. Look at them. These 25 men. They are the ones who are causing problem in the city. God said, prophesy against them. There are people who are against you. You will never know if God does not take you to the spirit. They will come. You know, Yorubas have a proverb that the insects that are eating the vegetable, they're what? Inside the vegetable. Kòkòrò tó ń jẹ̀fọ́, inú ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà. There are some problems that you have. The people who are coming to console you, to help you, are the cause of the problem. You know, there was this story of a doctor's wife that was killed in I think, Kaduna recently. They found out, you know, they took this woman, doctor's wife, and their children. Eventually, they found this woman dead. And then the children, they had to pay ransom to release them. One day, some people came, neighbors, came to greet the doctor whose wife was killed, to commiserate with the doctor. And then one of the young girls said to the father, said this man was one of the people that took mommy. That man was a policeman living next door. He came to greet the man that they killed the wife. They never knew that the young girl recognized them. The man thought he had a neighbor. Sometimes some people have neighbors. When they are traveling, the keys to your house, you give your neighbor. You say, please, if there's any problem, just open the door and help me take care of some things. If there's water flooding somewhere, or there's, you know, or I'm going somewhere, if my children need help while I'm away, please take care of them. The one that wants to kill them is the one unknown to you that you are asking to look after the ones they want to kill. They are enemies that we have. If God does not open your eyes, you can never imagine that they are the enemies. Sometimes your enemy can be your brother. Oh, like we've just had one this evening. Say in 2012, that problem that you had, we were the one behind it. You know, Cain and Abel, they were brothers. But they went to talk. The other one didn't know that the brother was not planning to talk. He was planning to kill him. Abel, his brother, was slain by Cain. Cain rose up against Abel and killed him. Esau and Jacob were twin brothers. But it will never occur to Esau that one day Jacob will dress like Esau, disguised, and go to his father to ask that he should be blessed with the blessing that was meant for his brother Esau. He will say, no, not my twin brother, not my twin sister, not my nephew. Never knew. David didn't know that his brothers hated him to the extent that they would kill him. If he knew, when the father said, go and check your brothers and come and tell me how things are going, he would not go. He thought that they were just his senior brothers. They would just abuse him. Little boy, stupid boy. Did not know the extent of the hatred that the brothers had for him. Micah chapter 7 verse 2. Micah 7 verse 2. Bible says, the good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. Can you imagine? Brothers hunting brothers with a net. Micah chapter 7 verse 5. Bible says, trust ye not in a friend. Put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. That's very deep. Bible says, friends can betray you. Husband can betray you. Wife can betray you. You know, nowadays, I understand some of our young ones, they are married in campus, on campus. They say they are campus couples. These are young ones who are not married, but on campus, they are married, which means they live together. And why are they married on campus? Because they have been deceived. He loves me. She loves me. But have you not heard of the case of the boyfriend who plotted with the mother and a false prophet, and they kill the girlfriend because they want to use her to make money. You would have thought if they were lovers, you are protected. But he killed the girlfriend with the mother and the pastor to make money out of her. In fact, somebody was saying they should ban all these Nollywood films where they are showing people making money with human beings. It is not true. If it is true, all these herbalists should be the richest people in Nigeria. But you watch it in Nollywood, that they will just call somebody's name and money will come out. Who is printing their money? Central Bank of Nigeria? And when they are frustrated, they look for a human being. People have killed people hoping that when they say, look, this one, it requires human beings. And they have killed, nothing has happened. They have killed sometimes their children, their husbands, their wives, their relatives. Nothing has happened. You know, the man that wants to make you rich is not rich. You're going to meet the man in the village, in a hut. If the man needs to make money, you think the man will stay there? So when you look at all of this, what can we do? How can we ensure that we're not casualties of these disguised enemies? Micah 7:7, before I move further. It says, therefore, I will look unto the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. So what can you do? How can you deal with disguised enemies? There are a few things that I want to discuss tonight. Number one, awareness. The fact that you have not identified your disguised enemies does not mean they do not exist. Some of us have become too English. If I don't harass anybody, if I just stick to my business and I keep my nose clean, all will be well. All is not well. Whether you know it or not, there are people who don't like you. And they have many reasons for not liking you. You know, when I was getting married, you know, usually Yorubas, when you about getting married, you are doing introduction, and you have relatives, you know, then they will make you kneel down before your relatives. They'll be praying for you. So there was this particular lady. She's dead now. I knelt down, you know, my wife knelt down, and she was praying. And she said, look, I am praying for you. I am not praying that you will not have enemies. Because only those who are not successful don't have enemies. But I'm praying that your enemies will not overcome you. You know, elders have a way of putting things. He said, look, if I say you don't have enemies, it's because for as long as you have something they are interested in, you have enemies. If you are smart, you have enemies. If you have something that people want, you have enemies because some people don't have it. So he's saying my prayer for you is not that you will not have they will have enemies, but those enemies will not be able to overcome you. Whether you like it or not, you have enemies. Even beggars under the bridge have enemies. They fight over space. Why are you sleeping here? I slept here yesterday. It's not government land. We support me at government land. I've been sleeping here for the past 3 weeks. Well, beggars fight over space. Awareness number one. Just be aware. Because they may be nearer to you than you think. David never knew that the son he loved so much, Absalom, was his enemy. And that boy was willing to kill his father. He never knew. Pharaoh never knew that in his house was the son of his enemies called Moses. You know, as far as he was concerned, I have taken care of all these Israelites. I will deal with them. Unknown to him, he was feeding one in his house. If that boy wanted, he could have poisoned him. Because Moses knew who he was, but Pharaoh didn't know. He felt that Moses was he's just one of us. No, he wasn't. Never knew. Under his house, Moses was staying there. Never knew. Joseph never knew how much his brothers hated him. So don't be aware that they are enemies. Number 2, be discreet. Be discreet. It is not everything about yourself that must go on social media. Some of you will say, this is me and Junior in Berlin. Then you do another one. This is Ruth in Rome. Then the whole family will line up on the way to Atlanta. In fact, some people tell us they're on the way. Social media. Now on the way to Atlanta. Why do you want the whole world to know what you are doing? And there are people who cannot afford transportation from here to Imo State. And you are saying you are in Rome. You are in Paris. You are just increasing the enemies that you have. And there was this information that I read somewhere, there was a judge who was going to, was in the court. He was going to check the time. Said, no, I forgot my Rolex watch in the house. He made the comment in the courtroom. One smart crook went to the house and met the wife. Your husband said, I should bring his Rolex watch. That was how he lost his Rolex watch. Because the wife will feel, if this person is coming and asking for a Rolex watch, definitely my husband sent him. Don't give out information you don't have to give out. It is not everything about yourself they must know. Sometimes, by even saying that you have traveled and you are on social media, you are telling people that your house is empty. That you are not around. So they are going to send some information, maybe after you have arrived. You can now post the one you want to post. But not everything. There's no point. There's no point. You just create problems for yourself. Don't use your own mouth or your own hands to destroy yourself. Be discreet. Control your belly. Eating everywhere carelessly is not good for you. Unfortunately, Nigeria was even better when we were growing up. Our parents would tell us when we were growing up, don't eat there. Don't eat there. Don't eat there. This is ram of the Muslims. Don't eat it. After our parents have gone, or they've gone to bed, when your friends who are Muslims are doing Ileya, you will tell your friends, please fry the thing. I'm going to come around this time. We will go and eat and clean out. When Christians are doing their own, they will come and eat and clean out. Nigeria was good then. But now, even in Christian homes, you must be careful where you eat. Must be careful where you eat. Don't let your belly put you into trouble. Some is not belly, it's sex. Oh, they say they are players. They just go everywhere, sowing seed. I told you once that some men think they are very clever. They will say, I caught her. No, she caught you. She plotted and she knew that usually you are there around that time. You felt you just met her mistakenly. No. Bible says there are people that hunt for the souls of men. And it's sometimes what they are looking for is not just the sex. They want more than that. Your destiny is taken during the action. So if you eat carelessly and you sleep around carelessly, enemies will get you. These are not even scriptural, but if I want to go into scriptures, it's scripture. Bible says the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. It will bring the man to become like a piece of bread. You know, I think I told you the story once. I used to work in International Bank in VI. So one morning, we came to work. I had this friend of mine, handsome boy. He will dress, he will put on suspenders, so you can know the guy dresses well. So we came to the office one morning, and one lady was fighting with him. Before our bosses come, we tried to settle the quarrel. And the more we tried to settle it, the more she was making noise. I want people to know I'm a prostitute. That was the lady. He called me a useless person. Yes, I'm useless. I will show I'm useless today. Now, for us who were his friends, we embarrassed for him. We never knew he goes around to get prostitutes. Apparently what happened was that he went around on the weekend, got this lady, took the lady to the house, and when his eyes cleared, he kicked her out. Said, leave my house, you dirty thing. Unknown to him, after he finished, he slept. While he was sleeping, the lady ransacked the house, checked the ID card, and knew where he was working. He didn't know. So she waited till Monday morning. We were begging her, please, our bosses are going to come soon. Said, no, he called me dirty thing. I know I'm dirty, and I'm a prostitute. I will show him today. We had to pay her to go. And that day, the guy just went from here to there. To there. Number 3, be discerning. Be discerning. In the story I told you about Jehoshaphat and his in-law, Ahab, the Spirit of God in Jehoshaphat told him something was wrong. That was why a man could hear 400 prophets speak. And he was still asking for somebody. Something told him, something about this thing is not right. Sometimes you might have no reason, but you just feel that somebody is not trustworthy. Most times, you find that you are right. So if God is telling you that you might not know, but this person, watch out for that person. Watch out for that person. There are many ways God speaks to us. God can speak through dreams. He can speak through visions. He can speak through prophecy. He can speak through word of knowledge. He can speak through third parties to you when God wants to communicate things to you. Be discerning. Don't ignore warnings. Many years ago, I was going to do a business. I was looking for money, capital for the business. So I had some people on my list. And there was this young guy that had money. So I approached him. And he said he wanted to have dinner with my wife and myself, that he wanted his wife to come also. We should have dinner together. No problem. So I told my wife that my potential business partner wanted us to have dinner with him. So we went with this guy to the restaurant. Nice one. We had dinner. Everything went well. So he told me that what I wanted, he will give me, I don't even have to look for another partner. He will give me everything. That he was very happy with us. The wife and my wife, right from the first evening, they became like friends. So when we got home, I was very happy. I said to my wife, so what do you think of the meeting? She said, which meeting? I said, the one we just had now. He said, are you going to take money from that guy? I said, yes. Say, that guy? I said, yes. Say, did you not notice that the wife was warning us? I said, whose wife? She said, the man's wife. I said, the dinner we went together. Say, yes. She said the wife, as far as she was passing message to us, that maybe we are too decent to deal with the husband. I said, you picked that one for the meeting? Say, yes. I didn't take the money. My wife was right. We found out things about the guy later. You know, sometimes it's not you that you will see it. It might be your wife. And usually they see more things than we see. They usually see more things than we see. Men hardly prosper in businesses that their wives don't support. They hardly prosper in it. When your wife wants you. And usually we ask them. We say, so why don't you want me to do it? They don't have any logical explanation. And men don't like that. You know, your wife tells you, I don't like your friend. Next question is, why don't you like my friend? Say, I don't have any reason. The man pulls back. I just think that this your friend is not a good man. So why is my friend not a good man? She can't explain it. The man is very upset. And sometimes she cannot explain it. She just has a feeling that this man is bad business for my husband. Be sensitive. Don't ignore warnings. I'm not saying they are right all the time because some women are very glad. Pastor is saying this tonight. They are very glad. So next time anything happens in the house, were you not at the vigil? Didn't you hear that we women see things that men don't see? For the wives who are here, please don't manipulate your husbands. If really God is talking to you, let him know. And please, let us listen to the wives. If you have a wife, you know, and you are together, she can save you from a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Number 4, be good to people. Be good to people. Be humble. He can save you from death. You know, who saved King Ahasuerus from death? Mordecai. Who was Mordecai? Just somebody who was by the gate, but like an uncle to the wife. If Ahasuerus had been ill-treating the wife, even though he got the information, he will not pass it on. He will say, good riddance to bad rubbish. This one who has been beating my daughter, let them even kill himself. So sometimes you don't see how some things relate, but a lot of things are related. Who saved Paul from assassination? The young boy, his nephew, who heard they were going to kill Uncle Paul. And the boy said, Uncle Paul, that when he comes to our house, he buys me toys. He brings me gala. He brings me sweets. They want to kill my dear uncle. Even the young boy said, no, this uncle must not die. You'll be surprised. Those young boys, they can save you from a lot of things, and young girls. Who helped Nema? Young girl, slave girl, who said, look, how can Oga have leprosy? Even though she was a slave. He must have been treating the lady well. Be good to people. This young boy saved Paul from death. This other man saved the other man from death. Who saved David from Saul? His children, his son, Jonathan, and the wife. You know why the wife was given to David? Saul said, I'm going to give David my troublesome daughter to marry. She will be a snare unto him. The father felt that he had gotten a plan perfected. So he told the daughter, I'm going to come and kill your husband. The daughter told the husband, the one who was a snare, say, Daddy will kill you. Take my advice. Run. I will put a dummy on the bed. When they come, I'll say you are sleeping. Meanwhile, run. Before they find out that you are not the one on the bed, you will have gone very far. That was exactly what she did. The children of Saul protected David from their father. He must have been a good man. Now, the son of David, called Absalom, when he was fighting his father, you know who helped him? The man called Ahithophel. Bible said Ahithophel was like a god in those days. Whatever the man told you was as if it came from heaven. So why would Ahithophel help Absalom? Have you thought about it? Because there was a woman called Bathsheba. Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah. Bathsheba was the daughter of Eliam. Eliam was the son of Ahithophel. So apparently, this man has a big grudge against David because he was the one that messed up the marriage of his granddaughter. That was why. As far as he was concerned, if this man messed up my family, I must mess up his own family. So when he was advising Absalom on what to do, he said, you will sleep with your father's wives. He enjoyed that. That was what David did to his own family. So he was going to spoil the family and cause problem. There are relationships. Sometimes you are a bad person in your office. Unknown to you, that person in your office and somebody in your church or your family have relationship. You won't know. So if you are bad, you are bad. That wickedness that you are doing will catch up with you one day because there are things that you are not even aware of. The people that you work with, who are sisters, you will not even know. Somebody will come to you and say, please meet my sister. Say your sister. Between you and the sister, you knew what you have done to her. And meanwhile, the other one prepares tea for you every morning. Generally, try to be good. Because that might save you, and keep you alive. Number 5, you need God. What I have told you, bit of common sense, bit of wisdom. But this particular number 5, you need God. Now, even if the young boy, the nephew, wanted to help Paul, what if he was not there when they were speaking? Who made sure the boy was there when they were planning? Who made sure the when they were planning for Ahasuerus, Mordecai was around? If you don't have God, you can't make it. Because there are many people who are plotting against you. No matter how smart you are or what you have, you cannot cover all the loopholes. It's not possible. You can't. If God does not help you, you are a lame duck. You're finished. That was why when David was praying for his friend, said, this man that did this, say, I'm going to call upon the Lord and God will help me. When the in-laws, Ahab and Ahithophel, and this man was in trouble, he cried unto the Lord for you to escape from enemies who are disguised. Enemies that you cannot even see sometimes. You don't even know. If God does not help you, you are finished. The question is, will God help you? Will God fight for you? Does God have an interest in ensuring that you don't fall? Why will God have that interest if you are not one of his own? In Psalm 24, verse 2 and verse 3, Psalmist says, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose up against us, then they had swallowed up us up quick when their wrath was kindled against us. Verse 8. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. 2 Chronicles chapter 16 verse 9. Bible says, for the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect towards him. Psalm 91 verse 5 to verse 8. The portion of those that has God as their senior partner. He said, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasted at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but shall not come near thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. In my old church, I went to vigil one day with my wife. We came back around to 6 in the morning. We opened the door. We were staying in Victoria Island. And I noticed that they had burgled into the house. They burgled the house. I could see that some of the electronics in the sitting room were gone. So I went back out. My security was still there. So I asked him what happened here. He said, nothing, sir. I said, nothing, sir. Didn't you see? He said, no, sir, I was sleeping. You were sleeping. So I took the man promptly to the police station, at Babbage. He was detained. They said, don't worry, we know this type. His friends will come. We'll catch all of them. After 3 or 4 days, nobody came up. So the police called me. So, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to free this man so you can just sack him and let him go? Or should we keep him here? I said to myself, there's no point in keeping this man. I said, okay, fine. Release him. I sacked him. So I was looking for another security man, before the new man will resume. One of those days, we went to bed. Around 5, I woke up to pray. I noticed that they had burgled the house again. And that I could see some clothes. It was a duplex on the stairs. So it occurred to me that maybe the thieves were still in the house. So I went back to the room and I shut the door and I told my wife, it seems there are some people here. And we kept our cool till early in the morning. It occurred to me that throughout the night when we were sleeping, the bedroom door was not closed. The place they came to take something was the room next to our room. So I knew they must have opened the door to the bedroom, saw us sleeping, and left us. How can thieves come to your house? Your room is not locked. They burgled the other room, took things from it, and they did not disturb our sleep. Doesn't make any sense. So, don't clap. They only came to make a point. That if we wanted to harm you, we could have harmed you. But we chose not to harm you. So when you sleep and you don't have any cover, who is watching over you? And then I went back to report at the petrol station, at the police station, that they had come again. And the policeman asked me, when they came, what were you doing? I said we were sleeping too. If God does not watch over the house, they who are doing so in vain. If God does not deliver you from enemies you cannot see, you are finished. You are finished. The only protection for sin enemies is for you to be in partnership with God. So even the ones that you are not seeing, God is taking care of them. And the ones he wants you to see, he will make sure that you know the people. If God opens our eyes to the problems he has solved on our behalf without showing us, you'll be amazed. One lady crossing the main road with a high heel. You know, when ladies are in their high heels, they walk differently. So she walked, and the car was about to hit her. She did like this. And then she continued. She did not know how close that miss was. She didn't know. She continued. But people who were seeing what happened knew that one little meter like this should have been crushed. But she went on as if that's how we are. That's how we are. Gio told us once of one big man on the plane with him. When there was turbulence in the air, the man was like crying like a baby. He had a walking stick. But as soon as turbulence stopped and the plane landed, he came out with his walking sticks and he was a different man. That's how many of us are. We never really knew or know most times how close we were to death. How close we were to destruction. What God has done for us, how he has kept us. Let me close. Our time is fast spent. Psalm 3, verse 4 to verse 6. David said, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. I lay me down and slept. I awaked, for the Lord sustained me. Many of us are not aware of this, that if not for the grace of God, the miracle of going to bed and waking up the following morning is grace. Verse 6, it says, I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. Why? Because God is with him. Tonight, I want to urge us. Pastor Steve has called out those people who are not born again. But let me tell you, maybe you came here after he had preached. You need to make God your senior partner. You think you don't have enemies? There is nobody that doesn't have enemies. If you are a good person, you have enemies. If you are a bad person, you have enemies. You need God to help you. There are many disguised enemies in your office, in your family, in your business. I'll tell you another story before I do the altar call. I used to be in cocoa business. One day, some years back, my brother went to Mushin for his own business, my younger brother. So they were talking, and he mentioned my company's name. And the guy asked him, said, do you know the people in that company? He said, yes. That my senior brother was the MD. He said, God must love your brother. He said, why? He said, we are in Mushin. Said somebody had come asking for people to help them do operation in that company and to finish them. Because they carry a lot of cash to go and buy cocoa. They were going to kill the manager on the way to Akure. The driver planned it, but the plot failed. I got to know years later, maybe 7 or 8 years later, from another source. My brother was just talking to the people. They had access to other people then. Said, look, God must love your brother. Many of us have no clue. Absolutely no clue about what God has done for you. No clue. Absolutely no clue.
Welcome to TOD, the house of favor.